November 8th, 2016, 11 p.m. India's Prime Minister appears on national television with a message that will shock 1.3 billion people. By midnight, 86% of India's cash becomes worthless paper. ATMs run dry, markets freeze, chaos erupts. But while the world watched India's economy spiral into pandemonium, something else was happening beneath the surface, a revolution. While Visa and Mastercard were charging the world billions in transaction fees, India quietly built a system that made payments almost free. And it didn't just challenge the global payment giants, it rewrote the rules of money itself. This is the story of how a simple QR code became India's weapon against financial colonialism. Before 2016, India was drowning in cash. 87% of all transactions happened with physical currency. Crumpled rupee notes passed through millions of hands every day. From chai sellers to luxury car dealerships, everything ran on paper money. India printed more currency than almost any nation on earth. 23 billion banknotes in circulation, each one touched by dozens of hands before it wore out. The informal economy was king. Construction workers paid in envelopes, wedding gifts stacked in suitcases, real estate deals closed with bags of cash under tables. But cash had a dark side. It fueled corruption, tax evasion, black money worth billions circulating like ghosts through the economy. Estimates suggested nearly 20% of India's GDP existed in shadow transactions, untaxed, untracked, unreachable. The Indian government had a problem, and they needed a radical solution. So they pulled the trigger. Overnight, the two most common banknotes, the 500 and 1,000 rupee bills, were declared invalid. The stated goal? Force the black money into the open, push India toward digital payments. But the execution? Catastrophic. People stood in bank lines for hours, small businesses collapsed, daily wage workers couldn't buy food. The currency shortage created instant paralysis. Farmers couldn't sell crops, hospitals struggled to buy supplies, weddings were postponed, funerals delayed. For weeks, the nation operated on a mix of old currency, confusion, and sheer desperation. Critics called it economic suicide. Global financial institutions watched with skepticism. Bloomberg called it India's reckless gamble. Western payment companies like Visa and Mastercard, who had been eyeing India's billion-plus consumers for decades, prepared to swoop in. They thought they'd finally get their prize. But what no one realized was India wasn't trying to join the global payment system. It was building its own. April 2016, 7 months before demonetization, a government entity called the National Payments Corporation of India (NPCI) launches something called UPI, Unified Payments Interface. Most people ignored it, but UPI wasn't just another payment app. It was infrastructure, a public digital highway where anyone could transfer money instantly using just a phone number or a simple ID. No card numbers, no bank details, no middlemen. Built on open APIs, interoperable across every bank, universal access. It was designed like the internet itself, a protocol, not a product, a foundation anyone could build on. Google Pay, PhonePe, Paytm, they all run on UPI rails, competing at the app level while the infrastructure remains public and free. And here's the part that shocked the world: zero transaction fees. Think about that. In the West, every time you swipe a Visa or Mastercard, the merchant pays a fee, typically 2 to 3%, sometimes more. That's billions of dollars every year flowing to payment giants. But UPI? Free. The Indian government understood something fundamental. If you want a billion people to go digital, you can't charge them for it. Then came the stroke of genius: QR codes. Simple, square, scannable. No expensive point-of-sale terminals, no card readers, just a printed piece of paper with a black and white pattern. A street vendor selling samosas could go digital for the cost of printing a single sheet. Meet Raju, a chai seller in Mumbai. For 30 years he served tea from a wooden cart, cash only. No formal education, no English, never owned a computer. Then, in 2017, 2017, someone showed him a QR code. He printed it, pasted it on his card. Within weeks, students were scanning his code with their phones. Money appeared in his bank account instantly. No cashed account, no risk of theft, no fake notes. For the first time in his life, Raju had a digital record of his income. Banks started seeing him as creditworthy. He qualified for a small business loan. Raju didn't adopt technology. Technology met him where he was. And across India, millions of Rajus did the same. What happened next was unprecedented. 2017, 100 million UPI transactions per month. 2018, 500 million. 2019, 1 billion. By 2023, India was processing over 10 billion UPI transactions every single month. That's more than the entire GDP of some countries, moving through QR codes. From the megacities of Delhi and Bangalore to remote villages in Bihar and Rajasthan, India was going cashless. Auto rickshaw drivers, vegetable sellers, temple donation boxes, wedding gifts, everything scannable. But here's what made this a true revolution. While America still debated chip versus swipe and Europe clung to expensive card terminals, India leapfrogged straight to the future. In New York, a small business owner pays $50 a month for a card reader plus transaction fees. In Mumbai, a small business owner prints a QR code for 10 rupees, about 12 cents, and pays 0 fees forever. India didn't just build a payment system. It built the world's biggest cashless experiment, and it actually worked. Now, imagine you're a Visa executive. For decades, you've dominated global payments. Your cards are in every wallet, your logo in every shop window. Your business model is simple. Take a small cut of every transaction, multiply that by billions of transactions worldwide, print money. Then suddenly, a country of 1.4 billion people builds a system that cuts you out entirely. That's not a market disruption. That's an existential threat. By 2022, UPI had captured over 60% of India's digital payment market. Visa and Mastercard share shrinking. Credit card growth stalled. Debit card usage plateaued. Even contactless cards couldn't compete with the simplicity of scanning a code. Why carry plastic when your phone does everything? The giants were losing ground, not to a startup, not to a tech billionaire, but to a government-backed public infrastructure that refused to play by Wall Street's rules. Reports began surfacing, Visa and Mastercard lobbying US officials, complaints to trade organizations, accusations of unfair competition. One leaked memo from a major card network reportedly called UPI the biggest threat to our Asia-Pacific revenue model. The concern was existential. If India's model spread, if other developing nations built their own public payment systems, the entire transaction fee business model would collapse. Billions in annual revenue gone. But India didn't blink, because this wasn't just about payments anymore. This was about power. For decades, the West controlled the world's financial plumbing. SWIFT for international transfers, Visa and Mastercard for everyday transactions. If you wanted to save money across borders, you played by their rules, paid their fees, accepted their surveillance. But India had just proved something dangerous. You could build your own system. You could say no to the gatekeepers. For the first time in modern history, the West payment empire faced a real challenge, not from Silicon Valley, not from Chinese tech giants, from Delhi. 2023, a tourist in Paris scans a QR code at the Eiffel Tower and pays with UPI. 2024, a worker in Dubai sends money home to India instantly through UPI. Singapore, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, UAE, France. UPI is spreading. Other countries are watching, studying, copying. Brazil launches Pix, inspired by UPI's model, free instant transfers. It explodes overnight. The Philippines investigates a similar system. Thailand explores it. Even the European Union starts asking questions. Central bankers who once dismissed India's experiment are now calling it a case study. The International Monetary Fund publishes reports. The World Bank takes notes. Because India proved something the financial establishment didn't want to believe. You don't need private corporations to run a payment system. Governments can do it, and do it better. More than that, India achieved digital sovereignty. Its money, its infrastructure, its control. No foreign corporations holding the keys, no transaction data flowing to Silicon Valley servers, no dependency on Western financial networks. When Russia was cut off from SWIFT during geopolitical tensions, the world saw what happened when you don't control your own financial rails. India made sure that would never be its problem. The QR code revolution wasn't just economic, it was strategic. But behind every transaction, there's a human story. Meet Lakshmi, a vegetable seller in a Karnataka village. She never went to school, never held a bank account until 2018. Then a government worker helped her set up UPI. Now she accepts digital payments, tracks her income, saves for her daughter's education. She knows exactly how much she earns each month. She budgets, she plans. For the first time in her life, she has financial independence. Not from a charity, not from a loan, from a QR code. Across India, QR codes became more than technology, they became dignity. The rickshaw driver who no longer worries about loose change, the street food vendor who doubled his income because college kids could pay digitally, the elderly shopkeeper who doesn't need reading glasses to count bills anymore. This wasn't just India catching up to the West. This was India solving problems the West never had to face. How do you bring 1 billion people, many poor, many illiterate, into the formal economy? Not with credit scores and bank branches, with simplicity, accessibility, and zero cost. The Western model assumed everyone had smartphones, stable internet, and financial literacy. India proved you could work with what people had: basic phones, intermittent connectivity, and word-of-mouth trust. The system bent to fit the people, not the other way around. Technology became human when it stopped being exclusive, and India's QR revolution did exactly that. So where does this leave us? Visa and Mastercard still dominate globally, their market cap over $500 billion combined. But the cracks are showing. India proved that the emperor has no clothes, that the necessary fees weren't necessary, that the complicated infrastructure could be simple, that the corporate monopoly could be challenged. For decades, payment companies argued that their fees funded innovation, security, and infrastructure. India built all three better, faster, cheaper, without charging consumers a rupee. The myth of indispensability shattered. Today, over 400 million Indians use UPI regularly. That's more than the entire population of the United States. Transactions worth trillions of dollars flowing through systems that cost almost nothing to use. And the revolution isn't stopping at India's borders. Other nations are waking up, building alternatives, reclaiming control. Because here's the truth that terrifies the financial establishment. If 1 billion people can trade goods, services, and dreams with nothing but a simple QR code and a smartphone, what happens to the old gatekeepers of money? India didn't just build a payment system. It built a blueprint for economic freedom, a proof of concept that countries don't have to rent their financial infrastructure from corporations, that innovation doesn't require profit margins, that sometimes the most powerful disruption comes not from the market but from the people. The revolution won't be televised, it will be scanned. If you found this story fascinating, hit subscribe. We're uncovering the hidden forces reshaping global power, one story at a time. Next up, how China's digital yuan threatens the dollar's dominance. Until then, question everything.